Today we are going to solve quadratics by factoring. This can be used for Algebra 1, Algebraic Reasoning, or Algebra 2. So we're going to jump back to a previous lesson we did on factor by grouping. And when we did factor by grouping, this was our solution that we had, or our factors that we had. So what we're going to do with those factors, so this whole process right here will stay the same as our factor by grouping lesson. But now we're going to take our factors and we are going to set each of our factors equal to 0. When we solve these are going to give us our solutions to this quadratic. So the first problem, we're going to subtract 1 and divide by 2. And our first solution is going to be x equals -1/2. For a second binomial, I just need to subtract 2 from both sides, and I have my second solution as -2. So we're going to continue this process on the next few problems. We'll go ahead and do factor by grouping and set each of our factors equal to 0. Okay, so now we're going to continue with finding the solutions of the quadratic equations by factoring. So first I'm going to look at my quadratic to see if there's anything I can factor out, if there's a GCF, and there is not. So now I'm going to go ahead and label my A, B, and C. And I'm going to create the table that on the left side, I'm going to do factors of A times C, but I need to make sure that these factors add up to B. So A times C is -18. So factors of -18, but they have to add up to 3. I got that value from right here. So factors of 18, 1, 18, 2, and 9, 3, and 6. So how do these numbers give me a +3? So it looks very similar to our last problem. Again, the way I get a +3 is 6 minus 3, or -3 plus 6, and those will give me a 3. So I'm going to take those values and I'm going to break down my b value into the -3x plus 6x. But I'm still going to bring down my a value, and I'm still going to bring down my c value. So now that I've created my 4 terms, now I can group. I'm going to put my first 2 together, I'm going to put my second 2 together, and yes, there was a plus sign in the middle. So now I have to factor out my greatest common factor from each parentheses. This first parentheses, I notice I can factor out an x from both terms. That goes in the front. I have my x, and now I have 2x minus 3. My second parentheses, a 6 and a 9, I can see that I can factor out a 3. So I'm going to factor out that 3, and I'm left with 2x minus 3. My common binomial goes in one parentheses, and my coefficients go in the other parentheses. Now, because I'm solving, I need to take each of those factors and I need to set each factor equal to 0, and this will give me my solutions once I solve. So for the first one, I'm going to add 3, and then I'm going to divide by 2. My answer is 3/2. On my next binomial, subtract 3 from both sides. I get x equals -3, and that is my other solution. Remember that quadratics can have no solutions, one solution, or 2 solutions. So now I want you to try this problem. You can pause this video right here. That way you can try it, and then when you unfreeze it, all the work is going to appear. Okay, now you can check your work, see if you got the right answers. If you did, go ahead and move forward. That's great. If you missed it, let's go ahead and check our work. My 2 factors here, I got 1 and 4. Now remember that even if you flip these, once you put them in here and take out GCF, eventually the answers still come out the same. So even if your work is flipped, you still get the same answer. On this first one, I factored out an x, and on this one, I factored out a 2. Remember that let me highlight that for you. My coefficients right here are going to make up one of these. And my common binomial that they have in common is going to make the other factor. So just check your work. If you missed it, fix it. And let's go ahead and let's do the same thing again. I want you guys to pause this video. When you unpause it, the solution and work will be there. So this is how you can check yourself if you're able to do this without me guiding you step by step. Okay, you're able to check your work, see how you did. Hopefully you are understanding this. Now we're going to move into that real world scenario. So those standards at the beginning, algebraic reasoning was very explicit to incorporate the real world problems. So this is the way we can incorporate the real world problems. So a farmer is planning to build a small rectangular chicken pen, wants the area to be 40 square feet. So before I even continue, rectangular pen, 40 square feet in here. Okay. He wants the length of the pen, length to be 6 feet longer than the width. What should the dimensions of the pen be to meet the farmer's requirement? Well, I need to know that the area of a rectangle is length times width. They didn't give me anything for the width, so I'm going to call the width W. Now the length, yes, we know that's an L, but because it's 6 feet longer, I'm going to go ahead and add 6 here. So now in order to get that area equals length times width. My length though is W plus 6, and my width is just a W. So now I need to multiply those. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply both of those terms there. And I'm going to get W squared plus 6W. I also know that the area must be equal to 40. So I want to solve this by factoring, but in order to factor, it has to be in standard form. It's currently not in standard form. I need this 40 to come on this side, so I need to create a 0 pair by subtracting 40 from this side. But whatever I do from one side, I must do to the other. Now I have W squared plus 6W minus 40. So now I'm going to factor the way I've been factoring. I'm going to label these A, B, and C. I'm going to make my table. That's factors of AC, but they have to add up to B. So factors of negative 40 that need to add up to 6. 1 and 40, not even close. 2 and 20, not 3. 4 and 10, 5 and 8. So one of these has to be a negative, again, because I have a negative sign here, but they have to add up to 6. So I have 10 minus 4, because 10 minus 4 or negative 4 plus 10 is going to equal 6. Remember, those are going to go in place of this right here. I'm going to bring down my negative 4, and this time it's a W, and I have a 10W. And I just bring down the negative 40, and I bring down the W squared, and it still equals 0. Okay. Now factor by grouping tells me put the first 2, put the second 2. Now the first 2 don't have any number that can come out, but I can factor out a W. So I have a W, and I have W minus 4. The second one, I can factor out a 10. So I'm going to do a positive 10, and I have W minus 4. Remember, my goal was always that my parentheses are the same. So now I'm going to take my binomial. This is going to help me solve for my width. Now, something's going to happen here. I'm already noticing. When I solve, both of these signs are going to change, And so I'm gonna be left with that the width equals to 4, that the width equals 4, and that makes sense to me. But on the other side, I'm getting that the width equals -10. Well, how can I have two values for W? So actually, this factor is not a factor. It's not a reasonable factor for width. So I know that my width is 4. Now, my length up here, I'm going to bring it down. My length was equal to my width plus 6. I now know that my width is 4. So my length is equal to 10. Now those two numbers make sense for me and they're reasonable. So this farmer is going to create a rectangular pen that is 4-foot width and a 10-foot length. Okay, that's a real world problem. Hopefully that makes sense to you. Hopefully you guys were able to factor. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel. I will be posting some more math videos. Have a great day.